Bamboo, one of my favorite plants in the yard. Extremely versatile, vigorous, grows in any situation. Also provides a great privacy hedge. You can see this is about 15 feet tall and only a year and a half old. So I planted it in spring of 2022. It's now November 2023. This is Chinese dwarf bamboo. And as you can see, this is a clumping variety of bamboo. So it'll just only grow in about a meter of space in a circle. That's as opposed to the running variety of bamboo, which you often hear about as extremely invasive and will grow anywhere that's outside of a barrier. That's why most people, when they look for bamboo, they really ought to be looking for the clumping variety unless they have a ton of space or plan to confine the bamboo within a container. But for me, I've put bamboo across the entire backside of my yard as a privacy hedge. This is the one that's done the best so far, this Chinese dwarf bamboo. I want to show the other bamboo that I have in my yard and give a compare. They're all about a year and a half old, and you could decide for yourself which one you think is the most attractive and which one would fit best in your yard. So that's the Chinese dwarf bamboo. To the right of this is the dwarf Buddha belly. It's about 5 feet tall, has some of the coolest leaf structure as well as the coolest culms out of any of the bamboo in my yard. You can see that the culms down here really kind of have a unique shape where it almost looks like a bunch of Buddha bellies on top of each other, which is where it gets its name from. And there's more and more growing within it, but they kind of run into each other and it needs to be thinned out every now and then. So this one is slightly more work than other bamboos I have in my yard, but it also has a unique look that you're not going to get from a lot of other bamboos. So this is dwarf Buddha belly. Next one I have right over here is called Teamour Black. This is a more elegant looking bamboo. It's a bit thinner and it has really beautiful black culms that come up and kind of provide a type of leaf structure that's, a bit more elegant looking, kind of like the traditional type of Asian bamboos that you might see, and is one that is also a bit more sensitive than the other bamboos. So this one, when it gets a little bit colder, when we get a frost here, it'll lose a few leaves, whereas the others will stay green. So if you're in sort of a marginal climate, like zone 9, zone 8, you might want to avoid the Timor Black. But if you're in zone 9, zone 10, I think it's a really beautiful choice for a type of clumping bamboo in your backyard. So on the other side of this Texas sage, this guava here, and jujube, have a monastery bamboo. This is one of the more interesting ones I've seen. It's also the newest one in my yard. This is only 3 months old, and it's already grown 4 new culms. It only had 2 when I bought it. And the reason I bought it was that it fits in a very tight space. So you can see it's between 2 huge pine trees here. And I wanted to still be able to have some privacy in this spot of the fence. And this one has extremely tight culms. It's part of why it's called monastery bamboo. Traditionally, the story goes that monks in their monasteries would build this as a part of their fencing to defend their monastery from invaders. And that's why it got its name, because it's such a tight, thick culm that it's almost like an impenetrable fence. So it's one that'll grow, significantly higher, but it'll also stay very tight at the bottom. And for this type of space, it just works perfectly. So I'm really excited to see this one grow and get bigger. So you can see, again, for the names, the Teamour Black here, the Dwarf Buddha belly, the Chinese Dwarf Bamboo. Right next to this is the one that has probably grown the least since I planted it a year and a half ago. This is called the variegated Malay Dwarf Bamboo. I thought it had a really interesting look. It has a kind of a variegated look in the leaves, so it's slightly opposite to what you'd expect in terms of the white and green. And I think as it gets bigger, it's going to look really beautiful. It's just been kind of a slow grower. I think part of that is it's next to the taproot of a huge ash tree, and so it's probably not getting as much water and nutrients as the others. But I also think it's just a variety that doesn't seem as vigorous. So, looking for a small bamboo, this Malaysian variegated dwarf bamboo is a pretty interesting one to keep small. You could always trim this back and keep it smaller, but I think as it gets bigger, it's going to grow into a really big, beautiful, elegant bush. Now, continuing along in the back of my yard here against the building privacy fence, this is not a bamboo, even though it looks like a bamboo. It's called a lady palm. You'll often see these as indoor houseplants, but I thought I would make an experiment this year and put a couple outside to see how they do. So I bought them in the spring. My biggest worry was that they would die during our summer because we get up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit here, but they survived because they're under this big oak tree. So this oak tree protects them from the sun and still provides this kind of privacy hedge with a bamboo look, even though it's considered a palm. So I really like the look of these culms, which are technically palm culms, but they look like bamboo. And what I'm going for is this consistent bamboo look across the back of my fence here. Next over here is Nandina domestica. This is a pretty common plant. I just like the colors. If you see this a bit more mature, you can see it's almost like a great collection of purple, pink, green, and changes color throughout the year and stays evergreen. You can see some of it here happening already. But in the fall, when it gets colder, it's really beautiful. And I love the colors. Supposedly, it gets up to about 6 to 8 feet tall, but right now it's only about a foot to a foot and a half. Kind of wish I would have put something in here that grows faster, like the other traditional bamboos. Nandina is not a bamboo, it's considered a bush. So if you're thinking about a fast growing type of bamboo hedge, I wouldn't recommend Nandina, but I do think it's beautiful and can still be used in the yard. It's something that if it really doesn't work after a number of years and it's still quite small, I might replace it with clumping bamboo and create more of a privacy hedge here that I'm going for against the back of my backyard. Because right now you can see that it's still very open with this 2 foot Nandina down, but hopefully it does hit that 8 foot height that I'm going for. Going over here is a fig tree and my lemon tree. There's two more bamboos on this side of the yard. So this is more of a clustered spot and very shaded. I was worried about bamboo in this spot because it's considered to be a type of plant that likes the sun. This is a weaver's bamboo, and it's also a clumping bamboo, like all in my yard, but it is one that is good for shade. As you can see, it's right under a big pine tree, and it still is growing quite fast. So this is only a year and a half growth. Its new culms are about 6, 7 feet tall. The ones from last year are about 3 feet tall. So in 2 years, you're going to get that 7 foot privacy fence from this weaver's bamboo. I really love this bamboo. It's beautiful, green, grew fast, and can grow in sun or shade. So this is one that I would really highly recommend for kind of a tight spot like this, where I'm building privacy between this lemon tree and this pine tree, but it's a tight spot that's in shade. And it's often hard to find a fast growing plant for this type of situation, but weaver's bamboo does fit the bill here. Then the largest bamboo that I have in my yard is Seabreeze. So this is a pretty common bamboo that you see at a lot of nurseries, just because it grows fast, it's beautiful, and it's hardy. So this one doesn't really lose many leaves when we get a frost. And I was surprised that it did so well in this area in shade. And I was told that, it's one of the varieties that might do okay in shade, but I have been really happy with how well it's done. You see all these new columns, got about 10, 11, 12 new columns this year, and they're 15 feet tall. So really beautiful clumping bamboo here. And so I would highly recommend Seabreeze as one of my favorite bamboos. You can see down here the columns, how big they're getting. Um, this is an inch across or so, and it's only in the second year. So this is a really vigorous bamboo that I have come to like quite a lot. So that's the last bamboo in my yard. I like to just document these going throughout the seasons as they grow, so you know what bamboo might be most interesting and useful for your yard. So this has been my review of the bamboos that I have in my yard. Remember, these are clumping bamboos, not running bamboos. When you're looking for bamboos, which I'll put in the links below for each of these varieties, just remember to only look for the clumping bamboos if you're having limited space and not in containers. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.